Una, limit of a constant theorem. Second, limit of a function x. Third, limit of a constant and a function x. Fourth, limits of sum or difference of a functions. Limit of product of a function. Sixth, limit of the quotient of a function. 7, limit of a power of function. And last, limit of the root of a function. Okay? So yan muna ang i-discuss ko. Okay? Unang pag-usapan, yung limit of a constant theorem. So yung definition niya is that limit of a constant as x approaches a constant is a constant. Okay. So sabi dito, limit ng constant. Laging constant daw ang sagot doon, ang limit niya ay constant din. Halimbawa, sabi dito, limit of negative 3 as x approaches 4. Remember that negative 3 is constant. Therefore, yun yung kanyang limit, negative 3. Number 2, if find the limit ng 2 over 5 as x approaches 1/2. Limit niya is 2/5. Next, pangatlo, limit of pi as x approaches 3. Since pi is constant, that's the limit. What do you think yung limit ng 88 as x approaches 4? Okay, the correct answer is 88. For number 5 problem, what's the limit of pi over 5 as x approaches 1/2? Okay, the correct answer is pi over 5. What is the limit of square root of 2 as x approaches 3? Okay, naintindihan nila yung theorem number 1. Let's proceed. You have to remember that the limit of a constant, as x approaches to any constant is always equal to the given constant. For number 2, limit of a function x. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Limit of x, kasi 'di ba, limit of a function x. Ibig sabihin x lang po yung makikita nyo dito. Okay? As x approaches k. So yung k na to constant. So kung hahanapin natin yung limit ng x as x approaches a constant, the answer is constant. Halimbawa, excuse me. Okay. Limit of x, laging x dito lagi po. Limit of x as x approaches 1, the answer there is 1. Next, limit of x as x approaches negative 1/2, the answer there is negative 1/2. And limit of x as x approaches 3.25, the limit is 3.25. Okay? Lagi pong ganun na kapag x lang po yung ating function. Okay, it's your turn. What is the limit of x as x approaches 2? Okay. The correct answer is 2. For number 5, what is the limit of x as x approaches 5? Okay, very good. Okay, the correct answer is pi. 6. What is the limit of x as x approaches 6.33? It's 6.33. Okay, that's second theorem. Remember that the limit of a function x as x approaches to any constant is always equal to the constant. Okay, next, proceed tayo sa pangatlo. Okay, for number 3, limit of a constant and a function x. Ano ba ibig sabihin yun? Ito po yun, yung definition niya. Limit of constant times f of x as x approaches k. So yung letter C, yung constant, minove forward. So siya ay magiging c times the limit of f of x as x approaches k. Halimbawa, huwag na to. Halimbawa, limit of 3x as x approaches negative 2. So ano yung approach dito? Ito yung magiging, yung constant natin ay 3. So 3 times the limit of x as x approaches negative 2. Okay. Kung papansinin nyo, ito ay binalik natin sa pangalawang theorem. limit of a function x as x approaches a constant. So, syempre, you have to copy yung 3, then multiply that dun sa sagot dito. Remember, ang sagot dito ay negative 2. And then simplify. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. At ito na po yung limit. For number 2, limit of negative 6x as x approaches 1/2. So, yung constant natin dito is negative 6. So, ilalagay natin sa front. So, yung negative 6 times the limit of x as x approaches 1/2. So, ito yung magiging negative 6 times 1/2. Okay. Then, multiply. Ito yung magiging 3. Ito yung magiging 1. So, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And here's the limit. Limit of 5x as x approaches 1/25. Okay. Check ko. Yung constant natin dito ay 5. So, 5 times limit of x as x approaches 1/25. So, ito yung magiging 5 times 1/25. And then, let's have the cancellation. Ito yung magiging 5. Ito yung 1. And any number multiplied to 1 is the number itself. So, 1 times 1/5 is 1/5. And here's the final answer. So, the correct answer is 1/5. Moving on to our fourth theorem, that is limit of sum or difference of a function. O, ano naman nito? Ito po yung definition niya. The limit of f of x plus or minus g of x as x approaches k is equal to, so kapag in-expand siya, magiging limit ng f of x as x approaches k plus or minus the limit of g of x as x approaches k. Okay. Okay. Halimbawa, limit of x plus 5 as x approaches negative 2. So kapag in-expand yan, base din sa definition, ito yung magiging limit of x as x approaches negative 2 plus limit of 5 as x approaches negative 2. Okay. So ito na naman. Theorem number 2. Ito naman theorem number 1. So ito, ang limit niya ay negative 2. Ito naman, so plus. Ito naman, yung theorem number 1. So ang sagot doon ay 5. So negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Okay? Next, number 2. For number 2, we're asked to evaluate the limit of 4x minus 2 as x approaches negative 5. Okay. Ito, i-expand natin galing yung sum and yung definition niya. Kaso, kung mapapansin nyo, may constant dito sa first term, which is 4. Okay. So, siya ay nasa pangatlong theorem. So, ilabas mo yung constant, tapos, limit of x as x approaches negative 5 minus limit of 2 as x approaches negative 5. Ayun na. So, parang combination na ng sum or difference, pati yung theorem number 3. Okay, so huwag kakalimutan yun. Yun yung importante ng maagang pumapasok para alam yung basic. Okay, simplify. So, using the previous theorem, so ito yung magiging 4 times negative 5 minus 2. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Copy negative 2. Then negative 20 minus 2 is negative 22. Limit of negative 3x minus 4 as x approaches 1/3. So ito yung magiging constant yung negative 3. So ilalagay natin sa front. So negative 3 times limit of x as x approaches 1/3 minus limit of 4 as x approaches 1/3. Okay, copy yung negative 3. And then limit nito ay 1/3. So times 1/3 minus 4. So ito ay cancellation. Pwedeng 1, 1. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And then copy negative 4. And negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. That's the final answer. Okay, maliwanag yan ha. Maliwanag po. Okay, punta na tayo sa pang-ilan na? Fifth, limit of product of a function. Ano ba ito? Ito po yun. Limit of f of x times g of x as x approaches k is equal to limit of f of x as x approaches k times limit of g of x as x approaches k. Halimbawa, limit of 3x times 5 as x approaches 1. Okay. So, kung gagawin natin, from the definition, pero dito kasi may constant. So, ang gagawin natin, ilalagay sa harap. So, 3 times limit of x as x approaches 1. Okay. Multiply natin ito sa limit of 5 as x approaches 1. Okay. So, ito yung magiging 3 times. Ang value dito is 1. So, 3, ano ba yun? 3 times 1, 3 times 1 times 5. So 3 times 1 times 5 is 15. Moving on, number 2. Limit of 2x plus 1 times x plus 5 as x approaches negative 2. So ito, kapag in-expand gamit yung definition, siya ay magiging constant natin yung 2, lagay sa unahan, then limit of x as x approaches negative 2 plus limit of 1 as x approaches negative 2, then lagyan natin ng bracket to. Okay, and then ito ay limit of x as x approaches negative 2 plus limit of 5 as x approaches negative 2. Okay, yan po. Applying the previous theorem, so ito ay magiging 2 times negative 2 plus 1. Okay, ito naman theorem number 2, so ito ay magiging negative 2 plus 5. Ito ay theorem number 1 na. Okay, simplify. 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 plus negative 4. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. And then to, negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. At ito na po yung limit natin. Okay, this time, limit of x plus 1 times negative 5 as x approaches negative 3. Okay. Siyempre, using the definition, ito yung magiging limit of x as x approaches negative 3 plus limit of x, 1 pala, 1, as x approaches negative 3. Okay? Times limit of negative 5 as x approaches negative 3. Okay? Ito yung magiging theorem number 2, ang sagot ay negative 3. Ito naman theorem number 1, ang sagot doon ay 1. Ito naman theorem number 1, so ang sagot doon ay 5. Okay, simplify. Negative 3 plus 1, that's negative 2. Copy yung negative 5, then multiply negative 2 times negative 5, that's 10. Okay, this time, sa sixth theorem. Ano ba yung sixth theorem? Ito yung quotient. Limit of quotient of a function. Okay. So kung mapapansin nyo, sum, difference, product, halos parehas lang, operation lang yung may nagkaiba. Katulad nitong quotient. Tingnan nyo. Limit of f of x as all over g of x as x approaches k ay equal daw sa limit of f of x as x approaches k all over limit of g of x as x approaches k, provided that g of x must not equal to 0. Sample tayo. Limit of x over 2 as x approaches 5. So, base sa definition, hihatiin natin o hiwalay natin yung numerator. by denominator. So ito yung magiging limit of x as x approaches 5 all over limit of x as x approaches 5. Okay? So yung numerator, theorem number 2. Oops, parang may mali ako. Dapat ito ay 2. Hindi siya x. Kasi yung denominator natin ay 2. So ito ay 2. Okay. Ito ay theorem number 2. Ito ay theorem number 1. So ito ay magiging 5. Ito naman ay magiging 2. At ito na po yung simplest form. Okay na ito. Okay na yung fraction na ganyan. Okay? Usually, yung fraction na ganito improper, okay na ganito as a whole, as a final answer. Hindi na kino-convert ng decimal. Okay. Next, number 2. Limit of 3x over 2 as x approaches negative 6. Iwalay ulit natin just like number 1. Okay. And then, sa numerator, apply natin yung theorem number 3. Lalagay natin sa unahan yung 3. Then, limit of x as x approaches negative 6 all over limit of 2 as x approaches negative 6. Ito yung magiging 3 times negative 6 all over 2. And then 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. And then copy yung 2. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. What is the limit of x plus 5 over 3x minus 2 as x approaches 2? Ang solution dito ay limit of x as x approaches 2 plus limit of 5 as x approaches 2 all over 3 times limit of x as x approaches 2 minus limit of 2 as x approaches 2. So ito yung magiging, so yung first term, second theorem. Second term, first theorem. Ito naman, third theorem, first theorem. So ito yung magiging 2 plus 5 all over 3 times 2 minus 2. Simplify. 2 plus 5 is 7. And then 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. That's why the correct answer is 1/4. Seventh theorem, ito yung limit of power of a function. Ano ba ito? Ito po. Limit ng f of x raised to n as x approaches k is limit of f of x as x approaches k raised to n. Okay? Halimbawa, yan. Limit of x raised to 4 as x approaches 2. Ito yung magiging limit of x as x approaches 2. Okay? Then, paparentesize to. Or iba-bracket. Raised to 4. Okay. So, yung nasa loob, theorem number 2 na naman. So, ang sagot dun ay 2 raised to 4. So, ay 16. Okay. Number 2. Limit of x squared plus 2x plus 1 as x approaches negative 9. So, hindi lang power rule ang ating gagamitin dito. Kasi merong operation, no? Sum. At kung papansinin mo may 2x. So, ang gagawin mo dito, yung rule number 3. Okay? So, ito yung magiging kapag gagamitin natin yung mga definition na na-discuss ko. So, ito yung magiging limit of x as x approaches negative 9. Then, square this. Plus, may constant na to. So, ilalabas natin. Then, limit of x as x approaches negative 9. Okay? Plus limit of 1 as x approaches negative 9. Okay. Okay. Dito tayo. So, ito yung nasa loob. Theorem number 2. So, ito yung magiging negative 9 square. Plus 2. Dito naman, ang sagot ay negative 9. So, multiply to negative 9. At ito, theorem number 1. That is 1. Then, simplify. Negative 9 square is 81. And then, oops. Then 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. negative 18. And then ito naman, copy 1. Okay, the correct answer is 64. Get the limit of 3x raised to 4 plus 9x squared as x approaches negative 3. So dito tayo, siyempre, apart from sum, yung ating gagamitin, meron pa tayong number 3 theorem. Gagamitin rin natin yung power. Yung constant, ilalagay natin sa harapan. Then limit of x as x approaches negative 3. Since may exponent ito, lagyan natin ng bracket or parenthesis. Ay, raised to 4 pala ito. Raised to 4. Plus, same with yung sa first term, may constant na 9. And then, limit of x as x approaches negative 3 square. Okay. And then, using yung past theorem, so ito yung magiging 3 times, ito naman, second theorem, so ito yung magiging negative 3 raised to 4 plus 9 times negative 3 square. Okay. Negative 3 raised to 4, 3 times 3, 9, 9 times 3, 27, 27 times 3, 81. 81 times 3, 243. Next, negative 3 square is 9. 9 times 9 is 18. So, plus 81 pala. 81. And then, 243 plus 81 is 324. Okay, the correct answer is 324. So, that is yung pagkuha ng limit of power of a function. Next, last na theorem. The last theorem, limit of root of a function. Paano to gawin? O yung definition niya. So, limit of nth root of f of x as x approaches k is equal to nth root of limit ng f of x as x approaches k, provided that limit of f of x must be greater than 0 when n is even. Kasi magiging imaginary number siya kung sakaling mang negative integers yung limit ng ating function. Okay, dito tayo. Sample tayo. Limit of square root of x as x approaches 8. Ang gagawin natin dito, base din sa definition, ito, square root of limit of x as x approaches 8. Ito yung magiging limit of 8, square root of 8. And then itong square root of 8 ay pwedeng i-simplify. Ang simplest form nito ay 2 square root of 2. At kailangan naka-simplest form ito na po yung final answer. Number 2, limit of product ng 3x and square root of x as x approaches 27. So kapag product, siyempre we have to multiply. Yung definition niya, ito ay 3 times the limit of x as x approaches 27. Lagyan natin ng bracket. Then sa kabila naman, square root of limit of x as x approaches 27. Okay. Okay, so ito yung magiging 3 times 27. So 3 times 27. Okay, sa kabila naman, square root of 27. Okay. 3 times 27 is 81. Ito ay 81. At yung simplest form ng square root of 27 is 3 times square root of 3. And then 81 times 3 is 243. Then copy square root of 3. At ito na po yung limit niya. Okay? Okay. Number 3. What is the limit of square root of 3x squared minus 2x plus 8 as x approaches 2? Solution. Ito yung magiging square root of, medyo mahaba to. So 3, yung constant na 3 times the limit of x as x approaches 2. Then square root of minus 2 times limit of x as x approaches 2 again, plus limit of 8 as x approaches 2. Okay, extend natin ito. So square root of 3, and then Ito, theorem number 2 ay 2. So, ito yung magiging 2 square minus 2 times 2 and then 8. Simplify. 2 square is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Ito ay 12. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 and copy 8. 8. 12 minus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. So ito ay square root of 16. And square root of 16 is 4. Okay.